Welcome to the Honest Business Podcast. This is the show for ambitious, value-driven business owners who are actively building a business that works for them. Hi, I'm May James, and I'm here to make scaling your business easier and more rewarding than ever. Each week, we will dive into simple, sustainable strategy and pragmatic leadership discussion to support you as you take imperfect action on your entrepreneurial journey. If you want to stay ahead, exceed your growth goals, and have a purposeful, thriving business, then keep on listening. Hello and welcome back to the Honest Business Podcast. I hope you are well and looking forward to today's episode. I hope you had a good week. I know this comes to you on a Wednesday, so I hope you are, if you're listening to this on Wednesday when it launches midweek, I hope this is going well and hopefully this will inspire your week ahead. Today, the podcast is all around taking time out of your business, how to totally switch off, how can you do it, how do I do it somewhat regularly. We're going to delve into that and I'm going to share with you all the bits and pieces, and I've got some interesting examples to share with you too. So let's just jump right in. When we talk about taking time out of your business, the first thing I want to say is you really need to plan for this and be strategic. However, that isn't to say it's impossible if you need to take time out of it and you don't have months and months to plan, because in September of 2021, had to take a month out of the business, out of both of my businesses, like overnight, which is quite wild. So I had to completely just come out of the businesses literally in the space of an overnight hours experience, which was really awkward and annoying, but it was fine and we successfully did it, and it was pretty simple and easy and nothing drastic happened and there wasn't any disasters. And we actually still made money as well. So yeah, that's an interesting one for you all, but we can dive into that further. So how do you take time off? This is really, it's simple, but I get that for people it's really complicated and people can make it much harder than it needs to be. So the essence of it is first of all, think about why you're taking time off and why you want to take time off and why you should take time off. Because those things are really important, and I think sometimes we neglect those, especially if you've been building your business. And it's not uncommon for me to come across people who've said, I haven't taken any time off for like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they've been building business. So I understand that it's very, like, for some people it's quite a scary thing to do. Some of you will have found a way of taking time out of your business from the day dot, and that's great. But others of you, I want to really, say in this episode, it's okay if you've been just grafting and you've been going for it for ages and ages, and now you're realizing this is unsustainable and I need to actually be able to take time out. So think about why you should take time off and what that means for you. And obviously in that means, looking at your creativity, and that if you are in a creative business, you need time to just breathe and think, because otherwise you can't do your job, which I've seen a lot happen with graphic designers, anybody who is, in that kind of creative realm. You need time away from work in order to do your best work. Also think about why you should take time off around your health and, your mental health and what you need. Remembering that life is short and we can't just work all the time is really important. But I'm sure you'll be able to list off why you should take time off, so I'm not going to kind of spend too long on that. So when it comes to how you take time off, I always divert people to this fact that it is all about your yearly plan. So this whole thing is all about your yearly planning and your overall business strategy. So your yearly plan is one thing and your overall business strategy is another thing. Yes, they are combined, but they're not the same thing. So you need to have them separate. It's really key that you focus and spend time on thinking about your 12 months ahead. Now, you do not have to wait until January or December to decide on your 12-month plan. This could be that you're listening to this episode in July and you're going to plan it for, the next 12 months, July to July. That's fine. You can choose when you're, when I say yearly plan, I'm basically talking about 12 months, sorry, goodness me. Obviously, it's great if, you want to do it year to year, fine, but that doesn't have to be. It might even be your financial year. If your business might have a financial year and you might want to put all your plans in with that. But you need to think clearly about when you want to take the time off. So how often as well do you want to take time off? Because that's a key thing for you to think about. If it's that you want to take off and you're a mother or a father and you want to take off all the school holidays. That's something you need to think about. You need to think about, do you want to take a month off? Do you want to take a week off? Do you want to take 3 months off and it be all in one chunk together? Do you want it to be throughout the year? Like, you have to decide what that is, and you need to decide it before you go and make all your other plans. And this is part of, for me, is part when I'm helping people design their business. This is like the first chunk of work we do right at the beginning of, when do you actually want to work? And people think when I say that, it's just about what days of the week you want to work. That is not it. I'm talking, when are you taking time off? So for me, for example, because I know it's helpful to hear other people's setups, I take around 3 weeks at Christmas, sometimes 2, but normally it's around 3, 2.5, 3 weeks at Christmas. I might take 3 weeks in the summer or a month, depending on when I fancy. And then I might take a week here, or I might take 5 days somewhere. Like, I'm quite flexible, but that's because I've built that into my business model, and I've purposely done it. I built my business around this idea that I could have time off at given points, and I will go into that in a moment. But essentially, I have room in my diary, and my year is set up so that every single month, if I wanted to, I could actually take time off. Now, that doesn't really happen because I choose not to and I don't need to, but that is like, it's set up there to allow me to. So you need to think about, what do you want to do? Do you want to take 6 weeks off in the summer? Are you taking 2 weeks? Like, what is it that you're taking off? Because that's going to dictate your business model, and it's going to dictate what you can do. So when you think about like the practicalities of taking time off, let's just go through that, because I think at this point some of you will be like, well, this sounds all great, but how about X, Y, and Z thing? So let's just be clear, right? If you are someone who is a consultant, for example, and say you're similar to me, whereas in terms of I deliver, like if my one-to-one work, there's no one else does it, it's me, then you need to be really clear on, when you're off, is it just going to be that there's no work gets done? And that might be something you just say, yeah, that's the case. Some of you might have a situation where you have, if you're building a coaching business and a coaching company, you might have different support coaches, and you might have people who help you, and then you might set things up so that they can deal with that, and that's great, so someone else can deliver and facilitate. That's totally up to you. You might be a marketing agency where you, obviously clients are on retainer and they feel like, you can't just randomly one day say, oh, okay, well, you're not going to have a month of support this month because we're going on holiday. Then you need to set things up in the business to make that possible for you, and to set systems up and to set team up in the way that makes the most sense. If you are a product-based business and you are the one who ships out all your products, and you're like, well, if I take time off, I'm not I've got no one to fulfill orders, then you need to look at that. So essentially what you've got some options. You can either choose to completely shut down your businesses when you take time off, or your business, sorry. You can do a hybrid thing where you're not there but someone else is facilitating. You might get someone like an associate, maybe you're a VA and you're taking time off, and you might want to get someone else to do the work. Now, bearing in mind, you're going to have to pay for that work, so that's a whole other discussion. Or you might find a way where your business is automated and it's passive and it's kind of operates in a way where people don't even know if you're on holiday or not, which is another option that you have. So you need to understand this all before you go into taking time off of your business. You need to work out, what is it that you want to do. Some people will choose to do a combination of all of that I've just mentioned. Let's just go back to being a VA for an example, because I think this is an interesting example that you'll be able to apply to other things. If you are a VA, there is no reason that you can't take time out of your business and be on holiday and it not affect the clients. So that comes down to a lot of preparation and you having an open conversation with people, and depending on the work you do with said clients is going to be different. So if you are a VA but you're a marketing VA, and so you do a lot of like the social media type management-y type stuff, but it's, that's your kind of area, then yes, you might struggle with what I'm about to say, but there are other ways of looking at it. But if you are someone who is like more of a project-based thing and they just need you to do X amount of work, like I have people in the business who help me with things who I'm just like, as long as it's done by the end of the month, I don't really care when it's done. If you've got stuff like that, then you can easily have open conversations with people and say, hey, I'm going to take this week off. Please, can I have everything you need by X date to give you enough time to do it by Y date, and so that everybody has what they need and you can have your time off and it's all fine. But that requires a lot of communication and prep. Now, once you've done it once, you can systemize it and it makes it much easier, and it doesn't have to be this really big task. But really think about that for yourself of like, okay, yeah, what is the perfect outcome here? Because yes, you can hire an associate VA and you could say to your client, hey, I'm going on holiday, but don't worry, this person who I know and you've vetted and all the rest of it, and you know who they are, maybe you've worked together or whatever, they'll be there. So if you need anything, they'll be there. And you can, say, if when I get back, I can deal with anything that you're, want to just leave for me, etc., whatever. And you will obviously have to pay that VA for that time. But if that means it keeps your client happy, then maybe you're like, that's fine. But I want you to be aware that there's more than one option, and you don't have to just pick like one way or the highway type thing. Like, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can also ask your client. Like, it's hard with VAs because it depends on the clients, and I know so many VAs have so many different, it can be that you're working with corporates and massive businesses. It can be working with smaller, tiny micro businesses. So it's hard to give examples that are applicable to everyone. But I think be really open and intuitive to what you can do and where the opportunity is for you to take time off. The other thing to think about is there is nothing wrong with turning around to your clients and saying, hey, I'm going on holiday on this date. And anyone who is a nice, decent human being will be like, cool, great, amazing. I am so happy you're going on holiday. You need a holiday. Great. Enjoy it. Don't worry. We can deal with whatever when you get back. Let's just be real for a moment and remember that people are human beings. And I think people forget this far too easily of my client's going to hate me. They're going to walk out. They're going to go somewhere else. They can't stand it. All the rest of it. They're going to think I'm really unprofessional. If you are taking a holiday in the summer for a week, 2 weeks, most people are just going to be like, yeah, great, cool. Now also think about, when do your clients, if you are a client-based business, take time off themselves? So this is something that's really great, I think, because you can really make it work to everyone's advantage. So for example, I take 2 or 3 weeks off for Christmas. That works great because most people I work with also take time off at Christmas. Now, what it also does is if I take 2 or 3 weeks, it encourages other people to take more time off, and it encourages a better well-being system. And this is one of the beautiful things I've found from a leader perspective of taking time off in your business. I have seen year on year, especially around Christmas time, when I take time off, other people, i.e. the clients or even the people in my circle in terms of peers and stuff, it gives them a permission slip for them to also do the same. So I've had people before who are like, I've said to them, when are you taking time off? And they're like, oh, I'm going to take a week. And then I maybe see them in a month's time. They're like, do you know what? Actually, I'm taking 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And they'll be like, thanks for saying that. Or they don't even say thanks, but they're just like, yeah, I've changed my mind and I'm going to prolong that. And I really love that because I think it gives people, we need to all be encouraging each other to take time out of our businesses. This isn't a competition of who can do the most work, who works the most hours, how long can you work for? And so the opposite of that is to encourage us all to take the time we need. So Christmas is a great time to take time off. And I'd say if you don't take 2 weeks at Christmas, please, please, please just do it. It's the easiest time to take time off. It's the time where you're going to get the least amount of pushback. It's the time when most of everything shuts down. Let's be honest, especially if you're in the UK, everything just, it's my favourite time of year. It's my favourite week of the year when there's just no email. Everyone's just off, Now, obviously, if you work in an environment where that's not possible, I get it. If you're in care, if you work in some kind of emergency services, if you're in some kind of business where that doesn't apply, obviously ignore what I'm saying. But for a lot of people, you will be able to take 2 weeks off and it not be this big thing. Likewise, in the summer, again, depending on your business, but a lot of people can take a week or 2 off or the whole month of August off, especially if you operate in the online space or if you operate where you're working with parents. A lot of the time, and when I say parents, I mean not that your offering is to parents, I just mean if your clients are parents, they've often got their kids, and so often August is not a great time. You can take time off then because it tends to work really good. So I would suggest, I think that kind of time's really great. I'd also say make use of bank holidays where you can. So, if you've got bank holiday on a Monday, there's nothing stopping you from taking the Thursday, Friday off of the week before and extending that for yourself. And I think that can be really great if you're someone who's really struggling to find time of how you will fit it all in. But I really want to preference this by saying that there is not really many reasons as to why you shouldn't be able to take a week or 2 out of your business, should you wish, even if you are really busy and you feel like client, don't let the client thing be the reason you don't take it off, because it's not right. And if someone does have an issue with you taking time off, that's when I think you need to question, who are these clients? Do you even want them as clients? Because it's a very bizarre place to be. Obviously, we have to put things in place to support them. Obviously, you need to make sure you give people plenty of time in advance. Do not just randomly book a holiday on Friday that you're going on the Monday and tell people, because people will be pissed off and they will leave, and that's not fair. But you know, there's no reason why you can't plan for something in 2-3 months in advance, 4 months, 5 months, and then for that to be totally fine with everyone involved. Just give people a lot of time, be really open, communicate, and also ask them, when are they taking time off? I think that's really important. The more we raise this conversation, and kind of one of the reasons I did this episode was to encourage people to step away from the business and to encourage the idea that it's okay for us to chill out a bit. I also just want to say there is nothing wrong with completely shutting your business down. When I say that, it sounds very dramatic. It's not that you're completely shutting the business down, but if you want to completely step away from your business for like a month in the summer, your business is not going to die forever, you know, like it's okay, you can do that. You don't have to find all these ways to keep it going if you don't want to, like that's okay too. So when we think about, you've like planned out when you're actually taking, you know, when you want to take the time off, you then just need to piece bits together. Now when I say just piece bits together, yes, it's a bit more complicated than that, but just start putting on a calendar, like what is a project, when you're gonna, if you do project work, it becomes very easy because you can just fit things in. If you are a retainer service, be really clear on when are you enrolling people. Don't enroll somebody the week beforehand if you're going on holiday and you can't, you know, that's going to make it more difficult. So be really clear with your sales. This is how it all impacts each other, right? So then that impacts your strategy. Your strategy then needs to go to your sales. Your sales then is like, okay, well, for sales, we're not going to sell at this point, so we need to get everybody in the door, you know, enrolled and onboarded by X day, and make it a real plan out this stuff. Put in your diary when you're out of office. So I have in my diary for Christmas, like up to Christmas this year, of when I'm out of the office, so that other people know, team members know, and so they can also, you know, some people want to plan their time off maybe around that. They don't have to, but that's like an option, and it gives people time. The more kind of things you can give people in advance, the easier it kind of becomes. So I thought I'd just talk about, to give you a different approach, is when I had to take my month off unexpectedly. So I won't go into it, but for that, you know, for those of you who don't know, in September of 2021, I lost my mum suddenly in the space of hours, and my life turned upside down, and I was just like, oh my goodness, okay, what are we doing? And yeah, I had to take a month out to be with my family and to, you know, process and do all the admin that is the horrendous life admin when these things happen. And yeah, I'll spare you the details, but it was a really traumatic, horrific time. I immediately overnight had to just step out. Other people needed me and my family, and I also needed to be off for myself, right? So I made a decision. I was like, right, I'll pull out for a month. I still had team who were with me. Bearing in mind my business, especially at the time that we're talking about, is very much transactional of I am the person that people want to speak to. I don't choose to use support coaches and other things in terms of like my one-to-one work and stuff. So we just paused everything. Now my clients were so amazing. They were so lovely. They were all like, obviously, yes, of course, that's fine. Don't worry. Don't even check in. Don't work, like nothing, you know, and that was great. I had an assistant. Did I have an assistant, or was it my online business manager? She managed everything in terms of communication with people and explaining what was going on. And it was really smooth in the sense of within a couple of hours, we just completely sorted it. I removed myself out of the business. My operations manager for one of the other business was great, and she dealt with everything on that side of stuff for the product business. And I truly had my month off. I didn't look at work, think about work. I mean, I couldn't. I had, you know, I was living hell and I was going through a horrific time. But I wanted to share it with you to say that you can do it, and it is possible. And then the bit that I think you'll probably all be interested in is what happened after, because this is the question, isn't it? Can you take time off and does it wreck your business? Well, what happened was I came back in October. I was going to come on back on like a phased return. I was going to be really slow. We tried to do that, but inevitably the nature of me is that I'm just like hell for leather, go, 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 love what I do. You know, bearing in mind, me taking a month off was like insane to me because I just have worked and worked and worked throughout the pandemic because I chose to. So it was a very weird setup. But I came back in October. I came back to all the clients that I'd left with, everyone was fine. Everyone was, concerned about me and were really lovely. I actually came back with people wanting to work with me. And then November came around and we had a massive time then. I mean, November's always my busiest month, so I don't ever normally really take time off in November. And I went for it. I mean, we didn't push out a lot of stuff in the sense, well, we did, I suppose, you would argue. But in terms of, from my perspective, it wasn't like a November that we could have had, but that was fine. I wasn't bothered by that. But in terms of the figures and the finances, it was actually insanely good. And it was because people were, we got back in the business and we did what we did and we continued with somewhat of a strategy, although it was the revised one, and it went really well. And then December came around and I knew by December I was going to have to take another chunk of time off because it was Christmas and it was the first Christmas and all that, difficult stuff. And so I took 3 weeks off and that was gorgeous. I finished in the middle of December and I was off for 3 weeks, maybe a bit more. No, I think it was 3 weeks. And again, I took another 3 weeks and that was fine. No one really said anything. It wasn't really an issue. I was, it was fine. It was great. And I'm sharing this again just to say to you, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. It isn't this endless thing that's impossible. It's so doable. Obviously, in December, I had a lot more time to tell people, right, I'm taking 3 weeks off. I had a lot more time to kind of, work stuff out if anything needed working out. We did a big enrollment for a program that we have called Year of Clarity, which is a kind of monthly workshop Q&A session program where we look at planning, and it's really, really cool. I love it. And we did that launch and we launched it from November, probably around Black Friday time, maybe the week beforehand, and then through to a bit of December, so that when I came back in January, we knew we were kicking off with that. But I had prepared it all in a way where it didn't require me to be stressing over Christmas about it or working out how we were going to do it. It was all planned beforehand. We knew exactly what was going on, and it was a great success. And the reason that that's important is for you to see that what I've just told you at the start of this episode about planning it into your strategy and creating it as a plan and then influencing your strategy, that's exactly what we did, and that's exactly why it worked. It was successful, it made sense, it wasn't, nothing really, everything went to plan because we'd clearly laid out what the plan was. It actually went better than we had anticipated. November went much better than I was kind of planning for, because I was, going to come back on a low, slow basis, and I just did my usual thing where I ended up going much more than that. But yeah, I hope that me sharing that might help. I'm trying to think, when else have we took time off? I've recently taken a week off. I'm currently recording this in May 2022, and I've recently taken a week off for my birthday, which again, don't really normally do, but my life has changed a lot in the last 6-7 months. My life has completely shifted, and I just decided, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take some time off, and I built my business in a way where I can do that, where it's not really a big deal and I don't come back to loads of admin and stuff. So that was really cool and I enjoyed that, and I came back last week, was it last week or the week before, and had a really good week. And I'm going to be taking some more time off in the summer, so this is probably a great time actually if you're interested to keep listening. So this summer, again, is different to a usual summer because everything's changed, and I'm going to be spending a little bit more time, Well, I suppose as well, for a lot of us, it's not even about whatever's happened to me. It's also just about the fact that COVID, thank goodness, is moving on and everyone's going to live their lives again, right? And I think that we were in a vacuum of the pandemic where people just didn't, people didn't take time off because there was nothing to do, whereas now we have, and that's a bit more exciting. So I'm going to take a week off in June because I'm going on holiday. I'm taking a week off in July because I'm also going on holiday. And August, I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off potentially, I think. So again, that's going to be, I'm purposely trying to take time off this year because I want to show people as well what's possible and that you can do it. Now, there's people who do it way more than I do and have really, bigger businesses than I do. We have, there's people who take 2 months, 6 months off a year, and that's great if, that's what you want to do. I'm not really at that point. I love what I do, and it's kind of, feeds me so much life. I'm not saying it doesn't for those, but I just mean in terms of, for me, that doesn't necessarily get me excited. But I am looking forward to taking more time out of the business, and I do so, and it's, as I say, it's very easy and simplistic. One of the reasons it is easy and simplistic is to do with how the whole business is structured and the strategy behind it and how my time is allocated and my time management. And so if that is something you would like to hear, we could potentially do a podcast episode about my monthly setup, because everything that I'm discussing here purely comes down to the fact of the way that my month and my weeks are structured that allows this to happen. And that essentially is how the whole business is like a beautiful flowing being, because it's like a personalized thing that we've made that other people do, but it, you know, you just make it work for you in your business. So that is a episode we could do if anyone's interested in that, and hopefully me sharing my experience will maybe inspire you or encourage you to take some time off. And yeah, I would really just say to you, like, listen to your body, listen to what you want and need to do. I think this summer there's going to be a lot of people taking time off because, as I say, there's not really been a reason to take time off and no one's done anything. So if you are yet to take time off and you're listening to this in June or July, it's not too late for you to plan some time off in August, and I'd really encourage you to do so, because I'm sure we've got bank holiday as well in August if you're in the UK or in England. So yeah, like, just delve into it and see what you can do and make it work for you, but don't kind of run your business at the mercy of others, because that's just not the point of you running a business in the first place, right? You might as well get a job. So really make sure you take control. And if you're stuck with this and you don't know what you're doing, then come and reach out to me and have a conversation, because this whole conversation centers around the fact that it all dictates by your business model and how your business is structured. And that is what I do for a living. It's what I am an expert in, and it's what I'm really passionate about, getting people to design businesses that are for them in a way that works perfectly for them and their own needs, and everybody's is specific and bespoke to them. And so there's certain offerings and things you can come and work with me, and we can explore this together for you to be able to get your business to a point where you can take all the time off in the world that you want to, or, you know, whatever success looks like for you. So don't be afraid to come and reach out on Instagram and say, hey, please can we have a chat, because you definitely can. I will be back next week with another episode. As always, thank you for listening, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Please vote. Not vote, what's it called? Review? Yeah, review. Can you tell I'm like not very good at this? Review the podcast. Give me a rating. I'd love to hear. I like reading through and seeing what you've got to say about the podcast, because it's helpful. But yeah, have a lovely week. I'm wishing you all the success in the world, and I will speak to you soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Honest Business Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you are subscribed. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. To catch up with all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at may.james_, where I share the raw, uncut, behind the scenes reality of what running multiple businesses every day truly looks like. As always, links and any resources that were mentioned in the episode will be in the show notes below. That's all for this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time.